ఆర్థిక వ్యవహారాల కార్యదర్శి శక్తికాంత దాస్ మీడియాతో మాట్లాడుతున్నారు. ఇప్పుడు ప్రత్యక్ష ప్రసారం ద్వారా చూద్దాం.
Correspondents, the network of the post offices, the ATM network, the network and the reach of the banking system, activation and widening the facility of e-payments, and finally great emphasis was also given on improving public convenience and ease of doing the whole process to the members of the public. So far as the banking correspondent network is concerned, as you may be knowing, there are 1.2 lakh banking correspondents in the country, and banking correspondents typically have strong rural presence. So the decision was mainly to activate it as much as possible so that the reach of this system in the rural areas becomes even stronger. So it was therefore decided that the banks will increase the cash holding limit of the banking correspondent to 50,000 rupees. Each banking correspondent has a certain limit up to which he can hold cash. So therefore, the first decision was to increase the limit of cash holding to banking correspondent to rupees 50,000. And in cases, and also there is flexibility and freedom available to the banks to increase this limit beyond rupees 50,000 in appropriate cases. It varies from bank to bank. And the other thing that was decided was that earlier, presently, each banking correspondent can replenish his cash from the bank only once a day. The decision taken in yesterday's meeting was that the banking correspondent would be allowed to draw cash from the bank to which he is attached multiple times during the same day. So if a banking correspondent goes out, dispenses the cash, and if he exhausts the cash, he again comes back and he can get further cash. So multiple times his cash would be replenished. With regard to the post office network, as you know, there are large number of branch post offices, and it was decided that the supply of cash to the branch post offices, in fact there are more than 1 lakh branch post offices. To be precise, there are 1.3 lakh branch post offices. The decision was that the supply of cash would be enhanced to the branch post offices so that these branch post offices are able to give cash to members of the public who have accounts in the branch post offices. So if you put both the numbers together, that is 1.2 lakh banking correspondents and 1.3 lakh branch post offices, totally it is 2.5 lakh points mostly in the rural areas, which will be able to give and dispense bigger quantum of cash and would be able to meet the requirements of a bigger number of people. The other area, as I mentioned earlier, was to strengthen and activate the ATM network. The ATM network, the recalibration of the ATMs has already started, and it is expected that from today or tomorrow, the ATMs will start dispensing higher denomination currency, especially 2,000 rupees, and this will be stepped up. The number of ATMs which are recalibrated and which can dispense 2,000 rupees notes also. That number will be enhanced in the next few days. To make this whole process faster, to expedite this whole process, a task force was decided to be set up under the chairmanship of Deputy Governor, Reserve Bank of India. The composition of this task force and the other details relating to the task force will be announced by the Reserve Bank during the course of today. And the task force has been mandated with the responsibility of working closely with the banks, working closely with the various agencies which are involved in disbursement of cash and recalibration of the software and hardware at the ATMs, The task force will work with them very closely to expedite and ensure that the ATM network is activated in the quickest possible time. Now, in the meantime, it was also decided that we have large number of micro ATMs which are utilized by various banks, and it was decided that large number of micro ATMs would be deployed throughout the country, and these micro ATMs will give cash, will dispense cash against credit and debit cards. That is another facility which has been made available to strengthen the disbursement of cash through the ATM network. The functioning of the micro ATM networks is similar to that of ATM. So whatever cash limits are there for the ATMs will also be applicable in the case of the micro ATMs. The next point that was taken up was to enhance the reach and to further activate the network of the banks. As you know, the staff and executives of the banking system have been working very hard over the last 4 to 5 days. The staff is working from morning till very late night hours, and they have done their best, as a result of which in the first 4 days, as it was announced yesterday, nearly 18 crore transactions have been done by the banking system in the country, and it's a huge number of transactions that the banking system has been able to deliver. So therefore, our compliments to our appreciations to all the employees and staff of the banks, and I'm sure in the coming days also they will continue to do so. Now, let me complete kar deta hu, फिर I will reply to all the questions. So to enhance the reach of the banks, as it was announced, the withdrawal from the bank account, we had a limit of 10,000 rupees per day, subject to a maximum of 20,000 rupees per week. We found that the same person had to visit the bank branch twice. It was inconvenient for the public. It was also unnecessarily increasing the accumulation of people, the crowd at the bank branches. So both for public convenience of the customers, and also to reduce the crowd and the congregation of people near the bank branches, it has been decided, as you would know, to remove the 10,000 limit per day and to have only a weekly limit, which is enhanced now to rupees 24,000. Sorry, 24,000. I'm sorry, 24,000 rupees. And so therefore, a customer can visit the bank just once a week and draw 24,000 rupees. The exchange of cash, old high denomination currency, over the counter has also been, the facility has been enhanced from the current limit of 4,000 rupees to 4,500 rupees. This has been done mainly to ensure that people are able to get currency notes of smaller denominations also. And when 4,500 rupees are dispensed, it is the expectation that roughly 4,000 would be in 2,000 rupees notes and the remaining would be in smaller denomination currencies. As you know, the 500 rupee notes have also been now infused into the system, and the distribution of 500 rupee notes against cash or from bank accounts has started yesterday. The ATM limits similarly have also been increased to 2,500, but let me mention very clearly, 2,500 limit will apply only to the recalibrated ATMs. In other words, ATMs which have been recalibrated to dispense higher denomination notes of 500 rupees and 2,000 rupees, only in those cases the limit has been enhanced to 2,500. With regard to current accounts, government got a lot of representations from small businesses, from small business entities, that they were finding it difficult to disburse the daily wages or the weekly wages to the workers, to their workers, and also they were finding it difficult to make sundry payments. Considering the fact that we are comfortable with regard to the availability of cash, it has also been decided to increase the limit in respect of business entities having current accounts and such current accounts which are operational for at least 3 months. For the past 3 months, for them, the limit has been increased to rupees 50,000 per week. This will enable them to disburse wages to their workers and also to carry out the sundry transactions. Again, to strengthen the supply of cash through the banking system, the district central cooperative banks also will receive cash to facilitate withdrawal from the accounts held by customers in the district central cooperative banks. The next network is through the e-payment mechanism. I have mentioned about ATM, but specifically through the e-payment mechanism, it has been decided that government departments and central public sector undertakings would be advised to do maximize their payments through the e-payment mechanisms, and the government departments and central public sector undertakings are being advised to carry out all their transactions through e-payment mechanism and only to resort to cash drawal from banks and cash disbursement in totally unavoidable or very, very exceptional cases. So that will also reduce the pressure on the banks, reduce the pressure on the cash disbursement to the public. With regard to the National Payment Corporation of India, the Reserve Bank has already advised the National Payment Corporation of India to waive its transaction charges in respect of various transactions which are settled by through what they call the National Financial Switch system, to waive the transaction charges. In other words, it will be less costly now for all transactions done which are settled by the National Payment Corporation of India. Similarly, the banks are also being advised to waive their charges in respect of the various transactions through the debit, credit card, etc. Then finally, with regard to enhancing the public convenience, as you know, government has already announced that there shall be separate queues for the senior citizens and the Divyang persons. There will be a separate queue for customers visiting bank branches to do transactions against their bank accounts, and there will be a separate queue for such people who visit the banks only for exchange of notes, that is submission of old notes and receiving the new notes. So there will be separate queues for each category so that the operations at the banks is streamlined. And with regard to, again, keeping in view the necessity to reduce the crowd at the bank branches, and also keeping in view the need of senior citizens, the annual life certificate which is required to be given by the pensioners during the month of November every year, the time limit has been extended up to 15th of January. And finally, the exemptions which have been granted by the government, that is cases or transactions where acceptance of old 500 rupee notes or 1000 rupee notes have been permitted or were permitted for a temporary period up to 14th November midnight, that has been extended to 24th November midnight. And this will cover all the categories. I repeat, this will cover all the categories, namely the petrol and diesel bunks, the payments in the pharmacies, the payments to the utilities, water and electricity utilities. And when we say pharmacies and water and electricity utilities, a question was raised whether also it includes private units. Yes, it does. It includes private pharmacies, it includes private discom companies also. But in respect of discom companies, as we have already said earlier, it will be for payment of bills of individuals and households in respect of their arrear bills and in respect of their current bills, and not for payment of advances. I would like to conclude by saying that the RBI has informed the meeting yesterday, chaired by the Honorable Prime Minister, that enough cash is available in the system and there is absolutely no reason for the public to feel any kind of panic. And in the days to come by, the supply of cash through various networks, through various channels, as I have explained, will be improved, and I think the situation will ease out in the coming days. Again, I would like to reiterate that enough cash is available with the Reserve Bank of India and with the entire system, and there is absolutely no reason for members of the public to feel any kind of panic. Thank you. Continuous process, and the measures which have been announced yesterday after the meeting chaired by the Honorable Prime Minister are basically measures in that direction.
सरकार के पास क्या कोई इस बात के आंकड़े हैं कि कितने एटीएम हैं जो वर्किंग में हैं और जो 24 घंटे तक पैसा डिस्पेंस करने की हालत में हैं?
वो
एटीएम सर बंद पड़े हैं।
देखिए, टोटली जो है 2 लाख के आसपास एटीएम्स है, और उसमें से आप जो कह रहे हैं सही कह रहे हैं, कुछ एटीएम्स में शायद वो जो 100 रुपए का नोट जो दे रहे थे, 100 और 50 रुपए के नोट्स वो नहीं पहुंचे थे। लेकिन अभी उसका जो टास्क फोर्स है, वो टास्क फोर्स उनके मीटिंग आज या कल शुरू कर देंगे। वो एक डिटेल एक्शन प्लान बनाएंगे, फिर उसके बाद आपका जो नंबर आप मांग रहे हैं उसको हम दे पाएंगे। 4-5 क्वेश्चन।
Supply may be a problem in the distant areas, but what we are experiencing is that certain branches in CP, Janpath also, like Yes Bank branch in Janpath,
One at a time, please.
Ran out of cash day before yesterday at 5 o'clock in the evening. So what explains this situation at a time when the government is maintaining that there is enough cash in the system?
You see, we are replenishing the cash as and when. Currently, please remember that only 100 rupee notes are dispensed through the ATMs. Each ATM carries 4 trays. Earlier, out of the 4, 3 trays carried 1000 rupee notes and 500 rupee notes. Those 3 trays have been emptied because the old notes have to be taken out. And in that place, new trays have to be installed. The hardware and the software will have to be recalibrated, tested and retested to ensure that there is no error or there is no mistake, money doesn't get jammed or more notes do not come, or when you are drawing a particular amount, you don't get the full cash. So only one tray is being used, and in one tray, there is a limited 100 rupee notes which is given, which gets exhausted. The banks are trying their best to replenish those in those trays. Therefore, the ATMs are getting exhausted. But it has been reported. Subject to verification. All of you are in the field. But it has been reported that there are several cases where the same people are coming back again and again and adding to the queue. That is a difficulty which we have to deal with, and we have to discuss.
One by one. Please,
one question.
Sir, आपने banking correspondence की बात की थी.
Sorry?
Mr. Jaitley said it will take about 2 to 3 weeks for the situation to get normal. PM is saying 50 days. Why is there such a conflicting?
No, there is absolutely no conflict. The Honorable Prime Minister referred to the date of 30th December. That is the time limit given for, submission of old notes. The Prime Minister's reference was to that. The Finance Minister's reference was specifically relating to the ATMs alone. And as I mentioned, to expedite that and to compress that time schedule even further, to do it even much more expeditiously, this task force has been formed. 2 more questions.
बैंकिंग कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट की बात की थी, तो सर उसमें मैं ये समझना चाह रहा था कि जो बैंकिंग कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट है, वहाँ लोग सिर्फ 4000 रुपए बदलवा पाएंगे या अपने पुराने पैसे भी जमा करा पाएंगे?
बैंकिंग कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट जो है, वहाँ पे आप पुराने पैसा जमा करवा सकते हैं अगर आपका अकाउंट हो, और दूसरी बात यह है कि जिसका अकाउंट है वो अकाउंट से वो ड्रॉ कर पाएंगे। और मैं आपको ये भी कहना चाहूंगा कि हमारे फाइनेंस मिनिस्ट्री के 7 जॉइंट सेक्रेटरीज का एक टीम बनाई गई है, और हर एक जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी को 4 या 5 स्टेट अलॉट किया गया है, और हर एक जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी को 5 या 6 या 4 बैंक्स अलॉट किया गया है। लगातार सुबह से रात तक लगातार हमारे जो ऑफिसर्स हैं वो स्टेट्स के चीफ सेक्रेटरी के साथ, बैंक चेयरमैन के साथ लगातार उनके साथ वो टच में है, और जहां जहां प्रॉब्लम है वहां पे डील कर रहे हैं। अनअकाउंटेड मनी इज ब्लैक मनी।
What is your question here?
The business was
No, what is the question?
Come to the question.
like that.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it will impact the supply chain. Businesses in wholesale market.
No, what is the question?
The question is that don't you think it will ultimately impact the supply chain, which will lead to inflation?
You see, as has been stated on several occasions by the Honorable Prime Minister and the Honorable Finance Minister, in the medium term and in the long term, this is something which will cleanse our economy from the menace of black money, and it is positive for our growth outlook. It is positive for the economy as a whole. And with regard to the unaccounted money or with regard to the cash, let me also make it very clear. In India, every household keeps some cash for any urgent requirement. There are small businesses, vegetable vendors, small shops who also keep some amount of cash. And to ensure that they are not put to any inconvenience, already it has been announced that cash deposits up to 2.5 lakh rupees in banks will not be looked into or will not be referred to the income tax department. Only the higher deposits of cash will be referred to the income tax department, and so therefore such people have absolutely no reason to worry, no reason to have any concern. But ultimately, when you say unaccounted money, black money is nothing but unaccounted money.
सवाल ये है कि काफी कुछ लोगों की शादियां हैं, जिन घरों में शादियां हैं, उनके पास पैसा नहीं है खर्च करने के लिए, ना उनको मिल पा रहा है. वो शादियां करें, अरेंजमेंट करें, लाइनों में लगे, एक प्रॉब्लम आ रही है, प्रैक्टिकल प्रॉब्लम है. ऐसे कैसे कुछ हॉस्पिटल्स में भी प्रॉब्लम आई है, जिनका इलाज होना था, इसका बच्चा मर गया है, पैसे ना होने की वजह से इलाज नहीं हो पाया टाइम पे, प्राइवेट हॉस्पिटल्स में ज्यादा दिक्कत आ रही है. तो इन लोग ऐसे केसेस में क्या आप कर रहे हैं, शादी और
इसी हॉस्पिटल्स के बारे में अगर आप कल के हमारे जो प्रेस रिलीज इशू की गई है उसमें अगर देखेंगे, जितना हद तक हो सके, टू दी एक्सटेंट पॉसिबल, क्योंकि बैंक का जो रिसोर्सेस और स्टाफ है वो बिल्कुल ओवर स्ट्रेस्ड है, जितना हद तक पॉसिबल है बैंकों को ये मैसेज दिया गया है कि हॉस्पिटल्स के पास वो मोबाइल बैंकिंग के फैसिलिटी थोड़ा, मतलब जितना हो सकता है वो पेशेंट्स के कन्वीनियंस के लिए वो मोबाइल बैंकिंग फैसिलिटी अवेलेबल करे.
Yesterday. So could you give us some more details about what the PM discussed? Because in spite of your expectations of initial disruption and in spite of your best efforts, it now seems like the government and the regulator have fallen woefully short. I mean, they did seem underprepared for the first one.
You see, I mean, that is your opinion. I don't have to say anything about your opinion. Please remember that it's a huge task, and the day it was announced, the Honorable Prime Minister himself had made an appeal to the members of the public, to the citizens of this country, that in the initial days there will be some inconvenience, but in the long-term interest, in the larger interest of the country, all of us should accept this, and the government is doing its best to improve the situation, and the situation is improving every day, hour by hour. It's our endeavor. The government will continue to do whatever is possible to ease the pressure, to ease the problem, as early as possible, and in that direction, all measures will be taken, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.